Hi, my name is Robin Phelps-Ward, and today I want to talk with you about creativity. As an artist and an academic, I've been trying for a long time to find a way to bridge the gap between these different parts of myself. And for a long time, they felt separate. That my academic work as a author, as a writer, as a researcher, as an educator, and my artistic self, so as a painter, as a singer, as a drawer, as someone who plays instruments, that those parts of me were not connected. But I'm here to say that they are and to affirm for myself that they are. And maybe you need this affirmation too. So, we're talking about creativity and using your creative expression to transform your research in this very quick mini course. So, to start with that affirmation, each of us has creativity inside of us. I've taught and had students come to me and say, Dr. Phelps Ward, I don't know how to be creative with this assignment. What are the criteria you're looking for when you say be creative with this assignment? And it's really hard to teach someone to be creative. It's something that you have to tap into and it's something that you have to practice, but it doesn't just come out if you don't practice it. So it's inside of all of us. Sometimes it's dormant, but we all have that capacity to be creative. So, today we're going to talk about reframing your thinking around your creativity, exploring the ideas for your creativity that work for you, building a plan, and hopefully starting today. So, we'll do a little bit of reflection. What activities, creative activities, did you enjoy when you were a child? Was it writing? Was it playing music? Was it making beats? Was it reading? Was it maybe even gardening, making floral arrangements? And now I want you to think of why you let go of those different creative activities. And maybe if you take a couple of minutes, you might do a little bit of free writing here, or maybe talking with a friend, or just sitting in silence thinking about your response. Why did you stop? For me, stopping was because of having a child. I wasn't engaging in as much of my creative expression as I was prior to having a child once I became a mother. I just didn't feel like I had the time. I also had a big pause when I entered graduate school. I don't have time to play the guitar, to be singing, to draw, to do any of those things because I need to be reading and writing so I can complete my program. Maybe you have some of these other thoughts that I'm too busy, that I should be working instead, that my hobby or my creative activity is too expensive, that it's something I'll just do in the future, maybe when I retire. But I'm here to tell you all of those limiting beliefs are trash. We need to put them in the trash and really realize that they are limiting, that they are holding us back, and that they're not true, right? We might be busy, but we can fit in 5 minutes for a quick sketch, or we can fit in 10 minutes for time to sing in the shower, or whatever it is for you. So we want to throw those away and give ourselves permission to be creative. And I just had this conversation with a doctoral advisee where we talked as a committee about ways that she could be creative in her dissertation by incorporating her love of poetry and doing some prose writing through vignettes. And so that permission we needed to give her to include those parts of ourselves. But we have to give that permission to ourselves as researchers, writers, academics, creatives. We can be creative in our work. And I just want to remind us of this quote from Bell Hooks. The function of art is to do more than tell it like it is to imagine what is possible. And so our research often we're trying to be descriptive, interpretive, and say, here's what we know from this data. But we also have another goal, which is to imagine a new reality, especially if our goal is to improve the conditions, the material conditions for those who are marginalized, to make a better world, to tear down and dismantle oppressive systems. We can do that through our creativity by imagining a new reality. So, some steps to tap into our creative selves. The first is to reunite with our creative selves. And I have some prompts here that I wrote up with my sister in a piece related to sisterly scholarly narratives in the academy. And so we talk about navigating the whiteness of the academy and using our creative practice. For my sister, it was yoga. For me, it was drawing and art and watercolor painting. But ask yourself, what kinds of creative expression did I engage in when I was a child? How did I feel when I engaged in them? What were those different types? Was I making jewelry? Was I scrapbooking? Was I engaged in gymnastics? All of those are different forms of creative expression. Dancing. What prevented you from trying a new, or what has prevented you from trying a new form of creative expression? A few more prompts here. Why aren't you regularly engaging in those different forms of creative expression that you know fuel your soul, feed your soul? What might regular engagement in those activities do for you mentally, emotionally, spiritually? And then how might they impact your work in the academy? So think about your research, your teaching, the ways that you engage with various communities tied to your work. All of these prompts will help you think about tapping back into and reuniting with your creative self. The next step is to engage creativity as part of your process. So there are infinite ways, but I've got a smattering here for us to consider. In your field notes, I love to sketch in my field notes, to write poems, and to just free write in my field notes. So after an interview, but also in my research journal throughout the process. And some folks I've seen have recorded audio and created songs as part of their research or memos or journals. Sometimes people are creating artifacts that are visual, that are auditory, that are arts based as part of their data collection to elicit narratives from participants or to show participants something to respond to. You could also do this as part of your data analysis process. And this is where I'm heading in my work, trying to incorporate painting as part of how I make sense of the data. So these are some ways that you can incorporate your creativity as part of your process. You could also incorporate creative expression as part of the data, to be the actual data, and collect poetry and journals from your participants, photography. So I've engaged in photo voice, and this is something done often, which is to collect photos from participants that illustrate their days, their lived experience, a day in the life for them. And those photos can be portraits, they can be still shots, landscapes, they can be abstract. Visual artwork, whether it's paintings, drawings, comics, sculpture, the list goes on. And then those more audio forms of data. So spoken word, songs, rap, and the list goes on. Again, not an exhaustive list, but we can be more creative with the types of data that we collect from participants. And all of this is discussed in the literature about arts-based research. But again, I'm wanting to encourage and embolden us all to be more creative with our work. Finally, we can engage our creativity by being creative in our findings, how we share what we found. So through film, and there's some really great examples that exist already, photography, social media, public events, all of these are opportunities. So I hope that you will use some of these as you try to bridge that gap for yourself. And this quote from Adrienne Marie Brown is another affirmation. Some of us are trying to imagine where we're going as we fly. So part of this engaging in creative work is so that we can, again, dream and then we can fly higher as we work to toward our social justice goals. So to end, I want to wrap up with a few affirmations that you are creative. You deserve to live a creative life. This is something I have to tell myself often, that I don't have to relegate my creative self to this space over here on the side. That you can start today. Start sketching today, start singing today, start drawing, start painting, start moving your body in creative ways. Start today and love your creative self. Take that time, enjoy the process. And to remember the great Nikki Giovanni, who just passed, all writers, not all artists, excuse me, not just writers, dream. So I see us as academics, as creatives, as artists, and I think that it is a privilege to be able to dream, but also a duty for us to dream. So good luck out there, and thank you for engaging with me. Would love to know your thoughts on bridging our creativity with our research. Bye.